Hello, everyone. It's Sam Eckmann of Gold Derby, and I am here with the Tony-nominated actress Joaquina Kalukango of Paradise Square. And congrats, first of all, on this Tony nomination. It's incredible work. And what was it like to see not just yourself that morning as a Tony nominee, but the show was really embraced. Paradise Square got so many nominations, 10 nominations in total. What was that feeling that morning?
Oh my God, a feeling just of deep gratitude. I mean, and quite honestly, like unbelief. We were astonished at what was happening. My mom and my son and I were watching, and literally when we heard the first award, we were like, what is happening? Just with each one, and to know that AJ and Sydney also got nominated and the show got 10, it's just an unbelievable feeling because there was so much hard work put into this production for over 10 years. And so to see it get recognized in this way, especially after we had to close because of COVID for a while. We didn't know how things were gonna, work out, but this is just really wonderful.
Yeah, COVID has certainly changed a lot on Broadway this season, but it's amazing that you guys can still keep going with all of that. This has been in the works for a while, and I'm curious, when specifically did you join in, and how do
I
you think?
joined. Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry, keep going.
I joined in last year. In May was when I got the offer. So I joined in the Chicago tryout.
Great. And how do you think, because I'm always interested in, musicals tend to take a really long time to come to fruition and actually get to Broadway. How do you think your performance has changed or deepened over time?
Well, it's changed a lot. I know in Berkeley, when I joined on, they hired Christina Anderson to really center Nellie's voice in this piece, which wasn't a part of the other iterations of the show. And also, when we came from Chicago to Broadway, we got a completely new act two. I got a new act one end of song. I mean, there were so many changes that we literally had to work out during this time. And also, even in Chicago, we literally were in previews and received whole new scenes and songs that we had to throw in on like the next day. So it's constantly changing, which is really lovely
Yeah.
and exciting and crazy.
One of my favorite aspects of this show, you have a line towards the end of, I'm paraphrasing your line poorly, but we lived in a community that was living in the future that still hasn't been realized. And the 5 Points has such a unique cultural makeup and history that I don't think is discussed or learned about often, where all these people of different backgrounds were living in harmony. Were you aware of that history? Were you surprised by that history?
I was not aware, not at all. And it's so interesting the fact that also specifically with these two groups, I think the thing that makes the Irish immigrants and the African Americans in that time so uniquely tied is that they were both marginalized groups. There were literally signs that said no Irish, no blacks, and no dogs. And so this commonalities of this hate that were for these specific groups and how they joined together it was really quite interesting, and how the elite system has then come in and infiltrated that space and turned them against each other was really fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I talked to AJ just a few days ago, and he was saying how he was drawing a parallel between the pamphlets and flyers there were sort of like disinformation campaigns and things that
Absolutely.
parallel today. And we've been having so many, national conversations about racial equity. What is it like performing this story with today's audiences?
It's so relevant. It's so important. I mean, I watched the January 6th riots, and I literally, I was amazed. I couldn't believe what was happening, what I was witnessing. And so to have a piece that speaks to that, knowing that we live in a country where rhetoric is so important, this idea of othering other people and saying, this is your enemy, this is who's coming to take your jobs, it all keeps getting repeated. And it's so important. And I think if we don't learn from our history, we're never going to be able to move forward. So the fact that this is not shocking. This has been going on in this country for a very long time. And I think it's important for everyone to know how to recognize the signs and also to know, okay, we're not going to go that way because we know that we're not going to fall for the okey doke this time because it's literally been used in every century of this country. It's really crazy.
Yeah, it's the heartbreaking part of the piece is really watching people who were like living together peacefully and then succumb to division, which we see today. Have you had, I know COVID has probably changed a lot of stage dooring and things like that, but have you gotten a lot of feedback from audiences over how that affects them and how the story resonates with them?
Oh, absolutely. They're deeply moved. It's healing also for a couple of people. I've had people say that too, I think it just feels timely and relevant. You hear it in the audience, even when you said of that last line. Sometimes there are deep, like audible gasps, in that place of just it hitting them in their chest like a ton of bricks, and witnessing everything that we've seen from the Buffalo massacre to everything. It's all so relevant, I think. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to, sticking towards sort of towards the end of the musical, you have this incredible number, Let It Burn, where it is just like a vocal and emotional unleashing at the end. Can you just describe what is it like to just stand solo and have to do that number every night?
Oh my goodness. I say a prayer every night before I go on, to be honest. I'm just like, let me be a vessel. It's intense. I think it speaks. For me, it's one of those pieces that I don't feel alone. One, because the company is literally behind me. Two, I also feel like it's a thing of like all of the ancestors, all of the ghosts, my father who has passed, they're literally standing on that stage with me. It's speaking for those nameless people in our history that had to go through all of these atrocities. It brings up all of that to me when I perform it. So it's an honor to share it. I feel it every day. And honestly, when you look at the news every day, it's like you need to unleash it for your heart, for your energy. It's a call, it's an anthem, it's standing up in the face of injustice, and so it's such an important moment. And I feel so incredibly honored that Jason Howland wrote this beautiful, beautiful, crazy intense piece to perform. But it's quite astonishing.
Yeah, beyond just the emotional intensity, the vocal dynamics in it just goes to insane places, it seems like, which you do tremendously with. But how long did it take to land on, your performance of it and figure out how it was going to fit in your voice?
Oh, it's so crazy. It initially it changed a lot, actually. Like Jason put it didn't used to go up so much. But he was like, something doesn't feel right. I feel like we need a little bit more. And so, and he heard my voice, he was like, let's try it here. And the beautiful thing is that Jason Howland has a great way of like listening to your voice and figuring out what works. And he's such a great collaborator. And I have a great vocal coach, Joan Lader, who has been helping me since I found out I was doing this thing, and just giving me the breath support to be able to the mechanics, because I'm not trained. So I'm like literally in vocal lessons every week consistently trying to figure out how to manage it. But yeah, now it feels like second nature. That was one of the first songs where I had to learn before I started, and I started before I even started rehearsals. It was a long process.
Did you say you're not a trained vocalist?
No, I mean, I went to Juilliard for acting. So it's not that I'm not like the people who, go to Carnegie Mellon or like BFA in musical theater, who I don't know how to read music or anything. So it's like, it's a new world for me, just literally learning the mechanics of how to sing and the training and what's all involved. It's a completely new technique. Yeah.
Well, you would never know that from seeing that number, certainly.
Oh, thank you.
And especially, the audience, I was there and the audience leaps to their feet at the end. You're getting these standing ovations mid-show. What does that, for those of us who are in just the viewers, what does that feel like to see and feel the audience greet you that way after a song?
Goodness, I'm so grateful that I can't see them because the lights are like blinding me in my eyes. So it's just blackness and lights. Because I think I would freak out and run off the stage. But I do feel the energy. I can't describe it. It's like 1,000 people's different energies literally hitting you in the chest. And at that moment, there's so many emotions. I think as the character that Nellie's going through and standing up and trying to be in the moment, you feel the love, but you also know that you're in a different place, as an actor in that moment, and what she's standing up for. So I receive it and try to
Mm.
also not acknowledge it while it's happening. It's definitely crazy.
Well, that's like, it's an incredible moment for this whole season to have. But you were saying before that the number changed a lot. Um, Thinking back to when you first saw the script and maybe first heard the score in its original form, what was it about Nellie that you gravitated towards?
One, that this was a woman who was born free in New York
Mm.
who owned a bar. This was something I never saw before, specifically in 1863. And even in the research, there was not a lot, and I mean like none. There weren't accounts of specifically African American women like in other states like Philadelphia during that time who had journals or anything. So I was literally putting together this woman's story, which felt like a way of honoring lost voices in New York, specifically in that time. And also, she doesn't take any mess. You know what I mean? But she loves deeply. She loves her community deeply. I love the connection of even the fact that she was raised by her father. I had a I'm a daddy's girl, and my father recently passed away as well. So there was that connection too, and just understanding the importance of what's passed down to you from your father in terms of independence and how you run a bar and how you stand up for yourself as a woman. I immediately was drawn to that. Um, and yeah, and more specifically, this time period, the fact that this was a New York story that not a lot of people knew about, and it happened right here, and we get to do it on Broadway, was really exciting to me.
Yeah, and I think I'm correct in saying that the time period and everything is true, but a lot of the individual characters are created for this story.
Mhm.
Did you like look up or pull any specific people that you could find to play her, to draw on?
I no, she's totally made up in
Oh,
my
yeah.
mind. But I did do a lot of research. There was I'm going to blank on the name, but there was a man who was famously known in the Five Points as a saloon bar owner, um, who all of the crazy dances used to happen in this man's bar, and so it's loosely based on that. But also, one of our writers, he also based it on the many women that he knew who were bar owners as well. So I think it's a lot of things and
Yeah.
a lot of people. Yeah.
And I will say, one of the really nice things about watching this show is that it's really rare nowadays to see like a new musical with such a giant cast and a giant production. People often, frankly, don't have the money to do that in a commercial space nowadays. So, what does that give you when you have, like, as you said, with Let It Burn, you have all of these people standing behind you? What is it like performing in an ensemble that big?
It's epic. I mean, that's what was really exciting. It's this epic, sweeping, gorgeous musical, and I was so fascinated by that. Like the cast is phenomenal. They're some of the best individuals I've ever worked with. So talented. A lot of them are extreme athletes, professionals in what they're doing every night. We have world champions in our cast of Irish step dance. It's amazing. And so even when you hear these scores, to hear all those voices together, all those bodies moving with stomps and claps, it's like this. I can't describe it. It's just this loud, beautiful sound that gets to be created with these bodies, and um, it's exciting. We need
Yeah.
more of it. We need more of it.
Yeah, it does. It sounds incredible. I wanted to ask, because you were nominated at the last, I can't even really say last year because COVID has messed up all the years. So Tony's
Right.
happened late. but you were nominated for Slave Play. And, as COVID sort of overturned everything, that was a very strange year. So if you're looking at your Tony Awards experience this year, what is your biggest hope for this year going into the Tonys, and how is it different for you?
It's so different. This feels like the first time, if I'm being honest. Like you said, last year it was virtual, and I mean like one event. And I think that was just like the announcement of that we were nominated. So even now, having a Tony luncheon where we get to acknowledge all the work, seeing everybody, um, going through the rituals of what this process is, it I feel the community and the love in a more beautiful way than I did last year. And honestly, I'm just excited. The fact that it's also going to be at Radio City Music Hall, which is going to be fun. Last time it was at a different theater. There's just different. It was just two completely different experiences, and so I look forward to this one because it feels like the first, first time.
Well, I think we're all of us in the theater community are looking forward to this one too. It feels like we're definitely back. So thank you so much for chatting Paradise Square with me, Joaquina. It's been wonderful to talk to you. Everyone who's out there watching, subscribe to Gold Derby and make sure you keep in touch with us throughout the rest of this season. Thank you once again.
Thank you.